Okay, welcome. So I'm coming to you here from Sedona, Arizona, where the red rocks and the big sky are supporting my nervous system. And today we're going to talk about manifesting. And we'll talk about it in general. I'll go over what I put together as the steps of manifesting that was in my book, Soul Pathway, 7 Steps. And talk about them, and then we can talk about your experiences of them in what you've done and what seemed to work for you or what didn't work for you. And we will then do a manifesting process personally, where not only will we do our own uh, goal and meditation, but we'll put some energy into everybody in the group as well, because when more people are involved, with sort of more minds that are focused in a certain way, everything has more power. So, 7 steps. I mean, often when people think about manifesting, they just think about, oh, have an affirmation. Think of something that you want. Maybe they know to put it in present tense. But there's kind of this sense in the metaphysical world at the surface level that as long as you think positive, good things will happen. But if that was 100% true, all of us people in the metaphysical world would have millions of dollars and an amazing relationship, and our lives would be perfect because we've been working with manifesting principles for decades. Some of the early teachers like Catherine Ponder, and then Isabel Hicks, and the channeling that she did. There's so much channeling in the 1900s that tried to explain how to work with universal principles. But my experience, because I threw myself headlong into it in the 80s, my experience was that it was more complex than people sometimes think that it is. And that although it's a fundamental truth that your thoughts are creating reality, and that's always happening. And I'll also say that the veils over the last 40, 50 years, the veils have been thinning so that what we think is being created faster and faster and faster. This is why it seems like we live in, well, it's not like it seems, we live in a divisive world. I'm trying to soft pedal it. Yeah, we live in a divisive world. We live in a world where there's fundamentally 2 major groups of people who have very, very different views on the world and how the world is going and how we want the world to go. And this is partly because we have positive, loving, progressive, compassionate thoughts with a large group of people. And we also have thoughts of, this world is terrible. It's going to hell in a handbasket. It's because of these groups of people that are, I'm afraid of, or I'm worried about, or I don't like. And so the energies just become so intense. And I tend to feel that what we're about to experience at this point is that the polarity is getting so divided that, like anything that gets to an extreme, it has to catapult back to more of a centering. And my sense is energetically that this is somewhat of the process that we're in at this point in time. So back to thoughts creating reality at a particular level, I would start out by saying that the first thing to do around manifesting is define your goal. And you may have a group of goals. In my book, Soul Pathway, I talk a lot about, um, connecting to your soul path, your mission, your vision of this life, uh, the sankalpa, which is the soul-centered, heart-centered sense of purpose and mission in your life. And so that's also an important thing, because many times we might want to manifest and have a goal that is very, what's the word I want to say? It's connected to the world's ideas that we've taken on. And it may not be exactly what we want. Mhm. It's so cute to see cats. I love seeing cats. Um, so having the big picture of your life and what your truest soul-centered goal is an important kind of pre-step. And then beyond that, I would encourage you to make a list of the specific goals that you have at this point in time in your life, checking it and rechecking it to say, is this truly my goal? Is this truly what I want for me coming from the highest levels? Or have I been, permeated by what other people think are really good goals? And as you get it down into this list of goals, be as detailed as you can possibly be. Okay, we'll get to the generalities after that, but to start with the details. So, not just I want more money, because that as an affirmation keeps you in I wanting more money. And so you're always in a state of wanting. So you could start out by saying, I have more money. But what does that mean? For each person, it's different. For one person, it might be $100 right now. That's what I want right now. And another might be thinking of the annual income that I need to feel comfortable and secure in my life. So whatever the goal is, write it down with as much detail as possible to start with, and in positive language. So positive, in the moment centered language. I have warm, loving relationships. Go deeper. I have a warm, deep, caring partner, and I have 5 really good friends that I connect with regularly, or whatever those goals are for you. I am debt free. It could be another one. And when you have that list, you can work with the goals one by one and check them to see what the underlying essence is, okay? Because ultimately, that's what you're really going for. Those of you who've worked with me in psychosynthesis process know that we um, hmm, that we ask the inner part what they want and need, but then we ask them what the essential need is, and we work with that. So underneath the desire for a loving partner is the essence of love, or maybe security. Underneath wanting money is security of a physical nature, to feel safe. There's really just a few true basic needs that we have as humans, and they come up again and again in all of our goals. So when we know what that essence is, it is actually the essence that is where the magnetism is in bringing things forward to us on that metaphysical level. So by spending even 5 minutes a day imagining and cultivating the underlying essence feeling that you think you'll have when you manifest this thing, then you're going to become magnetic to all of the life situations that give you that feeling, because you are evoking and cultivating that feeling within yourself. So that's a crucial, critical step 2. Now, those of you who have done affirmations, and affirmations again are the positive thought repeated. And when I first started doing this work, I had this idea that the mind was like a recorder. And I almost said tape recorder, which shows my age when we used to do tape recording. But your mind is a digital recorder that is recording everything you hear, see, feel from the time you're in utero. And then when something happens in life, it plays back this loop of what it has heard. It may be things that are completely irrelevant to you. It may be television shows that were on in the background when you were 4 years old. So you have a thought and all of this junk starts, coming forward. And so you want to erase that tape recorder. Think about how many times we have these well-worn pathways where we automatically think something. I've seen it definitely with children I've known who got, brought up in very difficult circumstances, foster care and such, that they always have the feeling that nothing ever goes my way. And they will tell themselves, not to get their hopes up so they won't get disappointed. And many of us had, that kind of coping mechanism as well. It's like, we don't want to be disappointed. We've been disappointed too many times, so we play low. Somebody says, excuse me. Somebody says, I'm going to do this good thing for you. And in our minds or out loud, we say, oh, well, we'll see about that. Maybe this person will show up and do that. Maybe this good thing will happen, but I doubt it. I'm not going to get my hopes up and be disappointed one more time. And so when the brain scientists now have actually proven that, in the brain system, we have these roadways and well-worn pathways, and that if you grow up in a family that is depressed and negative and untrusting, and people give you these messages all the time, these are the messages that have the well-worn pathway in the brain. And you have to have a different thought and practice it. Make yourself think it on a regular basis to change it. So well before the science had found this, and in me thinking about this tape recorder construct, I had the idea that whenever I had a negative thought, that if I thought the opposing thoughts 3 times, that I would erase the negative thought that I just had, and then I would build 2 competing positive thoughts on top of it, and that slowly I would erase the negative thought pathways and build new positive thought pathways. And that definitely works to a great degree. But you will notice when you do positive thoughts, let's say, you haven't had a date for 4 years and you feel really alone and miserable, and you want more than anything to be partnered. When you start looking in the mirror and going, I have a happy, healthy relationship. I have a happy, healthy relationship, as the people would say to do to create a new experience. um, there is a voice inside of you going, no, you don't. You're an idiot. No, you don't have anybody. You're never going to have anybody. And there can be kind of an aggressive inner dialogue that goes on as you're trying to rewire the thought process within you. And so think about that. And that's the step 3 to discover and shift subconscious blocks. So the way of shifting them is working with them as if they are individual personality structures within you, which they are. They are the keepers of your experience. They are little people that live inside your psyche. And so this step involves getting to know them, befriending them, finding out more about them, being curious and kind to them, and giving them what they need in energetic form, because the psyche works in pictures and energy. So this takes us to the psychosynthesis philosophy, the spiritual psychology that teaches us that we are all made up of these inner parts. Okay, so we're going to do some work with one of those inner voices to soften it so that it doesn't resist or sabotage your best manifesting vision again. Now, the next step that I promote here is to feel real emotion. And this is a little bit related to the subconscious blocks, although instead of seeing them as like little caricature people that you heal and give things to that they need, this is more about taking the time in your day-to-day life to feel what you actually feel and stop repressing emotion. And many of us repress the painful emotion, the anger, the rage, the fears, all of the pain of life and many, many lives. But we also will often repress the joy and the bliss and the high because, again, we're afraid it's going to be disappointing and we don't want to, put too much into that positive. So allowing ourselves to get comfortable, feeling real feeling, and getting to know it as an energy in the body. So what we want to do is, if we start to feel a little irritated, a lot of times when we don't like anger, for instance, we will feel resentful, irritated, depressed. These are all cover emotions for anger that we don't feel we can show. And so just taking the time to focus on it, to breathe deeply, and to feel where it is in the body. Sometimes the anger's in the throat because there's something we need to say. Often it's in the belly, in the power chakra, in the upper belly, or in the lower second chakra below the navel, which is the place of anger and emotion in general. It's the clearinghouse for a lot of feelings. So we want to get in the habit of giving ourselves a little time and space to breathe into the body, into the place where there's feeling, and just sit with it and be with it. And that also helps us clear, because when we sit long enough, and when I say long enough, it usually only takes a few minutes to breathe into an emotion and feel it until the point that it starts to dissolve, and often it turns into another emotion. It turns into the next one and the next one until we get to the very core of what we feel. And when we're in that place, the energy often starts to dissipate. And maybe you have to review back and you have to come back to a subconscious part, a part that's been holding this. But it's all in that process of understanding and transitioning, integrating the emotion that you're carrying that will be about your current life situation, but again, will also be steeped in childhood experiences and past life experiences. And this is why we need to work with the energy body all the time, because we can't always talk about what we have experienced in life or as children to explain why we feel the way we do. So much of our emotional nature is steeped in our prior lives and what happened to us then. Now, step 5 is taking action, and the universe loves action. So all of this work is a level of action for sure, but the action of taking a step, if your affirmation is, I am a successful psychotherapist, and you haven't got the degree yet, then the taking action is to, get online and choose your school and make an action toward it. If you're sitting in your house by yourself, it's much, much harder for partners and friends to find you than it is if you get out and about in the world and go places where like-minded people might be hanging out. So this is also a very significant part of the process. What are the action steps you need to take? So you're fully participating in the co-creation of your goals. Now, step 6 is forgiveness and gratitude, because the holding on to resentment and pain and not forgiving keeps us stuck, keeps us not in the flow. And this is a tricky one because many of us have experienced things in life that are pretty much unforgivable. And I honor that. However, it is, as the Buddhists say, when you hold on to anger, it's like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. It doesn't work. On a practical level, holding on to your anger, rage, pain, outrage, it simply doesn't work for you. And even if you can't forgive now, holding some intention toward forgiveness, that doesn't mean you're condoning anything, but you're working to forgive it out of your space, out of your body. And as much as you can forgive, and one of the things I teach regularly is forgiveness meditation. It's in the community meditations, something fairly early, because I really promote doing kind of global forgiveness meditations for all souls you've met in your life so far, and also individual forgiveness for people. And sometimes you have to do it many times. You might do a forgiveness process and then turn around and realize by some offhand nasty comment that comes out of your mouth that you really didn't forgive at all, or you only was like 5%, and you're still holding a lot of energy about that person. And gratitude, which is kind of like the cousin of forgiveness, is to be grateful for everything you have, including what you don't have right now, including the situations you have that are very, very difficult. That gratitude is another very powerful vibration that brings us more of what we actually need and want. And the more we can be grateful for, the extra flesh on our body that we want to get rid of, the lack of money that is teaching us to be, diligent and thrifty, the lack of really good friends that is, a temporary situation and giving us time to be alone. Like just finding ways to be grateful for all that we have that's wonderful, and even as much as possible for the things we have that we wish would go away. That energy of gratitude for everything frees up the cosmic energy. Holding on to grievance and lack and negative thinking about things just keeps us stuck. Remember, when we have negative thoughts about something, it's magnetic to that thing. So the way to freedom is gratitude, and then finally step 7, which is surrendering and letting go. So when we surrender and let go, that clears the vibrational field for everything else we're doing to work. In this space, we need to trust that it's all working out, and that we're just surrendering and waiting for that magical moment where it comes about. And I would say that, when you first start doing this type of thing, it might be one thing you're working with to manifest. It might be a whole life full of things that you wish were different. As you work with these concepts more and more, and the energy starts to shift with you, you can get into the place where you are in flow and you don't have to do any of this anymore, or you don't have to do it very often, maybe only when you notice that you're getting a little bit more out of balance. But you can get to the place where you are in alignment with divine creation and you're trusting your soul to create what you need and want. And the opportunities come to you and the flow is there, and there's just the general goodness, and you've worked through a lot of these old karmic patterns, because that's really what it is. Our birthright, our nature as souls is to be beautiful, abundant, creative beings, and creating for ourselves, creating for the world. I know I've focused a lot on this about manifesting personal things, but it's always a good idea in my mind that we also hold that the world becomes a loving place. The world is loving and kind and peaceful, and we have enlightened, conscious leaders, that this is something we can also affirm. This, when we're trying to manifest something that's huge and affects a huge population of people, it takes much more work and much more connected community to build something, because we're working with the negative thoughts of many, many people that work against our positive energy. And this is why at this time of radical shift and ideally coming into our new world, that it's so important that we work together in circles like this, and we support each other's goals, and we support the goal for love, peace, and progress in the world. So that is my talk about this subject. I'm really open to questions and your comments about this topic, and we'll have plenty of time to do a nice deep meditation as well. Anybody? Yeah, Angel.
I was just thinking about that. Wait, which step was it? Step 3, I think. That part that you talked about where, like, for example, if we want a relationship and we don't have one, looking in the mirror saying, I have this wonderful relationship is really difficult. And that's certainly something that I have for many years felt and struggled with. And one of the things that I used, something I learned through the Heart Math Institute, is just this anchoring in of a positive regenerative emotion. And so I really work with totally unrelated things that are positive to try to reroute the pathway to so that I'm not like gaslighting myself, kind of, like telling myself, oh, I have this thing, right? And I just wondered if anyone, like if you or anyone else ever had experiences with like picking something totally different that's actually true, that you feel that does feel good, that you can actually feel in your body to help reprogram those other things.
Yeah, for me, I don't think I've personally heard that, like in the way that you're speaking it, but that makes total sense to me in terms of um honoring, it's just a little bit like gratitude, really, as part of the process. Like you're being grateful for what you already have that you consider good. And yeah, and focusing on that anchor. I like the word anchoring. That makes sense. Because yeah, the I think that when you do the positive affirmations, if you tell yourself and know that what you're doing is you're doing it to rewire the brain and to put new thoughts in the brain, and then you honor the parts that say, no, that's not true, I'm not what I'm experiencing, then you're not gaslighting yourself so much.
Yeah. Mhm. Thanks.
Carol.
Hi, Kay. I'm a mess, so I don't have my video on. So, but when I was working as a therapist, I recognized that too. I talked about affirmations, and it would be difficult if you say, I'm in a loving relationship and you have no relationship going on. You do cancel yourself out, or you've got a part that automatically negates it. So I talked about saying a process statement, like is something that's in the process of going to your goal. Like learning to, I'm beginning to attract new relationships, new friendships, new partnerships, or something that's in the process. Or I'm learning to eat better. I'm eating better every day, something like that.
Yes, that's a really good point, and that is a way to work with things on that are really hard to get to. I'm becoming healthier every day. I'm developing the capacity for relationship every day. And it's a little bit like what I was talking about with the gratitude, or no, I'm sorry, the forgiveness, that many times we just can't say, I forgive this person for this, but we can say, I'm opening my heart to forgiveness in, the situations that are paining me. And so we can work in steps for sure with any of these.
Yeah. Thanks, Kay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and if there's any other questions or comments, we will go into the meditation.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What if it's like, can you speak to the factor of timing where it's like maybe you're trying to manifest a new job or a new relationship, but it's just like it's definitely not the time, and like the universe knows that, but you don't know it. Sometimes I feel like frustration or hesitation to even try to manifest something because I feel like it's not really in my control because there's like a greater divine timing. And then I don't know how much action I should be taking versus being patient and waiting for it to just come.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's a balancing of the two. I mean, absolutely, there is the divine timing, and uh, the things that are truly meant to come to us. Uh, I feel, are generally coming to us, and the universe is like hitting us over the head again and again, trying to get us to wake up to who we are and what we're supposed to be doing. So for instance, if you're supposed to go for a bigger, better job, but you're afraid to leave your current job because of the financial security, there's a very good chance that you'll lose the job and, suffer the sort of the shock of that and the fear, and, finally make your way to the better job. But I would say that um, because our life is a certain amount of fate and free will. That is my belief. Um, and I know that some people sort of feel like it's more fated. And some would feel like, oh, it's completely free will. You can do whatever you want. To me, it feels like it's a combo, that there is a certain amount of fate, and that shows in the astrology chart as the pathway and the karma and what we're here to learn about. And then the question is, how fast do we learn it? Like, do we have to like go through 10 really bad relationships before we get to the one that we can see in the astrology chart? I mean, this is a really a good comparison of how things play out for people, to think about the astrology chart with certain configurations around Venus and outer planets, for example. uh, Most people have some pretty difficult relationships in the early part of life. They have people who are unfaithful and unavailable, and shocking breakups that are completely unexpected. And yet, some people have those exact same astrological planets, and it's not so bad. They maybe have a couple of minor heartbreaks, but they are able to work with those energies at a higher frequency level from a younger age, and find that way to find people who are more spiritual, awakened, alive, and have some, better relationships. Like, you can't look at the astrology chart and see even some of what we might think of astrologically as the worst possible things that a person might have and be 100% sure about it. An example of that is Pluto in the fourth house. So traditionally, Pluto in the fourth house, many astrologers would interpret it as your family life was terrible. There's somebody in your house who's probably abusive, a rageaholic. There's tremendous wounding in the family of origin. And yet I have run across a number of people whose parents were psychiatrists, surgeons, doctors, financial, powerful people, and they had a pretty good childhood. There were high, powerful expectations for them to perform in the world, to come into their own power. It was kind of expected, but they did not have the abuse that you would have learned years ago, that this is what Pluto in the fourth house means. And so, it tells me that there's ample possibilities of what can happen based on karma and fate and the energetic principles that we're born with. So, yeah, if you stay in the flow, sort of coming back to the second part of your question, if you stay in the flow and just assume that everything in the universe is coming to you and it's all going to work out, if you are a clear, evolved person, that's what will happen. It will be great. You can be at the point that that's the way that you work with the cosmic energies. You trust it all, you accept it all, you let it all happen. But if you have any of these negative beliefs that we're talking about here, then you do have the opportunity to change those limiting negative beliefs and have that flow be faster, easier, higher than if you do nothing and let certain negative beliefs keep bringing you lessons. Make sense? Hey, Diane.
Hi. I was away this week visiting a longtime friend of many, many decades. We hadn't seen each other in 5 years. So we were at a provincial park. So there's really limited internet. So it was nice to take a break from, cell phones, internet, social media, everything, and just have deep conversations. And one of the things that I mentioned, we touched on, relationships. And I said, when I hear people say, oh, this is my better half, and it's like, okay, you're a half meeting another half to make a whole. It's better to be a whole person, work on yourself, do the work, and you're going to meet another whole person where you have a lot of values in common. Because if you have some interest but a lot of values in common, you are you're going to have a much better relationship. And I guess the prognosis is relationships are going to be much more successful, because it doesn't matter, if you have hardly anything in common or values in common. It doesn't matter if you try for the next 50 years, it's never going to work. So, with relationships, I really firmly believe that one has to do the work within themselves, at every level. And what are the types of qualities that you would like to attract, and you develop them in yourself first, so that you're a whole person meeting, another whole person. And I guess with years and experience comes a lot of wisdom. Like, I've given and given and given, so much, and looking after everybody else's needs. And I came to the conclusion, it's like, well, wait a second here. I'm giving and giving. Who's giving to me? Who's going to be there for me? I've always been, there for myself. And then you can't come to the realization that it's okay to say no to others. And then, yeah, sure, they're going to rebel. And it's like, okay, what's wrong with her? She's always been, so giving. And you got to realize that it's got to be kind of a fair exchange and not just,
Mhm.
one-sided.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, let's go into the meditation. Come into this meditation and bring your body to a comfortable position. Taking slow, deep breaths. As you breathe, feel your body encased in beautiful, healing, protective light. And imagine that part of you that can travel, moving to a beautiful place in nature. Nature, so healing. Feel the earth beneath your feet, the colors and shapes all around you, the scent in the air, the sounds. Letting this be an opportunity for deep healing. As you imagine the breeze swirling on your skin, maybe a little bit of sun, golden light dappling down. And as you rest in this place, perhaps calling in your highest level spirit guides and power animals to be with you. Allow one current goal to arise in the mind. What is it you wish for? And in your mind, state that in positive, detailed language. I have, I am, I'm in process of, as you wish. You might have a simple affirmation and then flesh out a couple of details. As you sit with this affirmation, discover its underlying essence. How do you imagine you'll feel when this is fully manifested? And pretend you have it and cultivate that feeling. There might be more than one. Now, as you sit with this, with the positive affirmation and cultivating the feeling that you'll have as you develop this quality in your life, see if you can perceive the part of you that doesn't believe this, the part of you that comes from a subconscious blockage. And you might even just call that part forward right now. The part of you who does not believe your affirmation, allow that part to come forward and be in front of you, looking like a person, a cartoon figure, or even a shape of energy. There might be something about the way this part looks that tells you about it. You might perceive its emotional energy or mood. What does this part need or want? What is its essential need? If you're willing and able to give this part what it needs, do that now and watch what happens, how it might change if it does. But you can also call in a wise and loving being to be with this part, to hold it, to give it what it needs. Know that in the days and weeks to come, you can continue to connect with this part, develop a relationship, a journey. As that part still sits there with you, perhaps held in light and love, moving to step 4, we feel real emotion. So breathe into your body right now, scanning from head to toe to see, how do you actually feel in this moment? Are there painful, angry feelings to explore? Or joyful, light feelings? Be with your emotional space in an honest way. And notice as you breathe into a feeling, does it soften or resist? Without making anything happen, just sit with the feeling, breathing into it. Now, the next step is to take action. So take a moment to imagine what action you want to take for your goal, something possible in the next few days or week. And just make a note in your mind of that action. Moving to forgiveness and gratitude. Take a moment to breathe into the heart and to imagine forgiveness, or perhaps an intention to forgive as possible, to anybody that arises in your mind where you believe forgiveness is due. And then gratitude. Gratitude for what you have, as many things as you can think of that you're grateful for, including any challenges that you're able to cultivate gratitude for. And finally, deep breath into surrendering, letting go, trusting it's all already there. It's just a matter of stepping through that veil where you perceive it in reality, but all the love, the abundance, all the things, they're already there. If you can think of them, they're in production. Feel the relief. Feel that walking in the flow, trusting that what you've just done, you are manifesting and saying in your mind, this or something better for the highest good of all concerned. Trusting in perfect timing. Trusting in the highest beings of the cosmos. Feeling that support as much as possible. And then feeling all of us in a circle. Everybody who's here on this call today, everybody in this whole soul path family, this community, and feel us shining our power and our light to everybody in the group, wishing only the best for everyone to achieve their dreams and their hopes. Feel the power of the group energy. Focused like a light on each person, whether we know them or not. A whole circle. And then sending that abundant, loving, positive energy out to the world. The whole world. The places of light and the places of darkness. Sending our best wishes for love, healing, and abundance. Coming back to center, breathing into your own heart and feeling your boundaries around your aura bright and sparkly, sending good energy to everybody that you come across as you move throughout your day. When you're ready, you can open your eyes.